It's Thursday, August 4th, 2022. Watching the financial shows this morning, and it's really shocking. Markets are pretty flat. Most of them are down at the moment. But just reading some of the incoming news, going over through more of this data, it's shocking to me that the markets are not crashing. Weekly jobless claims rise to 260,000. 260,000 Americans filed first-time jobless claims last week, and the markets are just flat today. As I make this video, Dow Jones is down about 90 points. Now we have the non-farm payrolls report for July coming out tomorrow. And I have no idea. I believe it's not going to be good, but I also believe that it's going to be very manipulated. But I think the number is not going to be a good number, but I believe it's going to be a very manipulated number. They're going to do everything they can to make it not seem as bad as it really is. Now, they're estimating that we will have 258,000 positions added for the month of July. Think about that. We're adding 258,000. We just lost 260,000 jobs. 260,000 Americans filed first-time jobless claims last week. It seems like every week it's 240, 250, 260,000 every week where people are filing first-time jobless claims. And by the way, this 260,000 is about the worst it's been since November. Very, very bad news. And how manipulated is this? Because we don't include people who have rolled off unemployment, people who don't qualify for unemployment, independent contractors, people coming out of college who can't find a work, people who've just given up and quit. None of these people quit or count. So how many people really are we losing every week to unemployment? It's just amazing to me that people do not see how fake and manipulated all this is. Connecticut, Oklahoma, and California had the biggest rise in jobless claims. And I think we can all agree that jobless claims have now completely decoupled from the headlines payrolls data. Now, I want to talk about layoffs briefly. Just some of the numbers I pulled up today are startling, and it is really telling us the health of this economy and really the health of the job or the jobs market. Ultratech, the world's largest provider of text telecommunications devices, laying off 600 workers. Rivian, 840 in their workforce will be laid off. 7-Eleven, 880 of their workforce laid off. Shopify laying off 1,000. Vimeo laying off 6% of its workforce. Redfin laying off 8% of its workforce. Remax laying off 17% of its workforce. Think about that. Remax laying off 17% of its workforce. What do you think that tells you and I about the real estate market and what is beginning and what is going to happen to the real estate market, the housing market? Robinhood, 23% of its workforce being laid off. Ford, preparing to cut as many as 8,000 jobs. Geico, the insurance company, has closed every single office in the state of California. Markets just flat today. Why are they not down hundreds of points? Why isn't the Dow Jones down about 1,000 points today just on the data I'm sharing with you right now? This is just a trend that we see right now that is telling you what's coming tomorrow. And it's not good. And this is why all of us must continue to prepare, why we must not get complacent, why we must be thinking independently for ourselves, why we must be our own central bank, why we must be our own security force, why we must be responsible for us. Because really, when I turn on the television, it's the same song and dance. You need to be in these markets. You need to be buying. You need to be coming into the real estate market. If the price is right, you should buy it. Everything's fine. Maybe people aren't offering 100 or 200,000 over listing, but if you price it right, it's a great time to buy. I completely disagree. This is not the time to buy a new car. This is not the time to buy a house. This is not the time to buy dumb stuff. This is not the time to be buying stuff you don't need, or the time to be buying stuff to impress friends or people you don't know. Bank of England launches biggest interest rate hike in 27 years, predicts lengthy recession. They've had 6 consecutive rate hikes, which now takes their borrowing cost to 1.75%. The bank now expects headline inflation to peak at 13.3%. You could probably double that. And it says 13.3% in October, and to remain at elevated levels throughout much of 2023 before, get this, before falling back to 2% in 2025. And I say good luck to that. Now, if you have 13.3% inflation, which it's probably double, and you have borrowing costs at 1.75%, how in the world are you going to get control of inflation? Please comment down below, answer me that. How in the world are we going to do this if we're at 2.5%, 3% when we have inflation? I think we're at 2.25 or 2.5% right now. If we're at 3%, 3.25% by the end of the year, and we have 9% inflation, how in the world is that doing anything to get inflation under control? And when we have all these new stimulus bills, these new acts that are being signed and passed for hundreds of billions of dollars, how is that not going to create more inflation in the system? Where's the money coming from? It's being borrowed. People are being taxed. It's being printed. This is going to cause more inflation right here in the U.S. We have a spending issue in America. And now watching some of the news today and how they want to come and tax the middle class, they are going to try to squeeze as much blood out of the turnip as possible. And this is just, it's horrifying to see what is happening to America just financially. Walmart lays off corporate employees after slashing forecasts. The company has slashed its profit outlook and has warned that customers have pulled back on discretionary spending because of inflation. Now, when you go to a Walmart, last time I shot a video there, they had about 10 cashierless self-checkouts in the store, and maybe one checker, maybe one, but about 10 self-checkouts. You know that they're going to be heading into robotics. They're going to use technology to replace jobs in the warehouse. You know, if they had driverless trucks, they would not be using human drivers right now. They're getting rid of corporate employees. They are going to get rid of the fat. They are cutting it out. And the more that they can replace these jobs with technology, they're going to do. And this is just a sign of the times. And it's why it's so important to have a skill set, know how to do something. I don't think you want to land up working for a company like Walmart. And what happens to Walmart if we get into a dispute with China? If China decides to stop shipping goods or a percentage of goods to America, what happens to Walmart? We do not understand the jeopardy we are putting ourselves in when we have people like Nancy over there stirring up the hornet's nest, and what the repercussions can be now. You see the missiles, the military power they're flexing over near Taiwan now, off the shores of Taiwan. It's really, really scary what they're doing. And if I was over in Taiwan right now watching these military exercises at the beach, it would be a bit scary. But we are really looking to cause problems. We just cannot keep our nose out of problems. We're in Eastern Europe, we're in the Middle East, now we're over in Taiwan, stirring up problems in Asia. It's just sooner or later, ladies and gentlemen, something is going to happen. And maybe that's why, as I make this video, gold is up $33. And I don't know why that is. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Is it uncertainty with these markets? Is it uncertainty with what's happening geopolitically, uncertainty with what's happening with the chance now of a war breaking out with America being involved somewhere in Taiwan? We're already involved in Ukraine, and I'm not getting political here, but we're just calling it as we see it. This is reality. Things are happening in Taiwan. Nancy was in Taiwan. Things are happening in Eastern Europe, and things are going to continue to happen. You know, we are really exasperating the problem. We are not a nation, unfortunately, of peace. And that's really sad to see what we're doing around the world, the abuse of the world reserve currency. And much of what's going to happen, we can blame ourselves for. We really, really can. We are creating big problems that don't need to be created. We are escalating things around the world that don't need to be escalated. And I think that America thinks it's much more powerful than it is. What are now the chances when you look at what's happening with Iran, Russia, China? What are the chances of seeing a cyber attack in America? And are you prepared for that? Could you go? Could you last 30 days with your power off? Could you last 30 days without your plastic card working at an ATM or a store? What if the store shut down? What if they cannot operate because of a cyber attack? Do you have barterable items? Do you have junk silver? Do you have gold? Do you have silver? Do you have enough food and water put away that you could make it a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks plus? Who knows what's going to happen? But there's so much technology out there, and the average American cannot think for themselves. They cannot even make a microwave dinner for themselves. What would they do if the lights went out for just a week? Would you be able to protect yourselves? Would you be able to deal with this financially? Do you have the items? Do you have the correct currencies to deal with this? Most people don't. And that's why we could really see a chaotic time. So make sure you're thinking about that. Make sure you're thinking outside the box. And most of all, make sure you're preparing for the worst case scenario. Another article today, hit by rising costs and supply snarls. Toyota profit tumbles 42%. This alone, Toyota, the largest car manufacturer on planet Earth, profits tumble 42%. How in the world do markets not crash just over the news of this? I don't know. I don't know. Again, this is the manipulation that we are seeing. Maybe this is why we're beginning to see gold and silver move now. There is huge uncertainty in regards to what's happening economically, geopolitically, and militarily across the world. Insiders are dumping the most stocks since January as retail buying panic reemerges. This on the Hedge today. Retail investors have been the major driver of the rebound in equities in the last few days. Retail is chasing this rally. As we've always heard, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. It's these retail investors who believe that the Fed has their back. The Fed will save them. But corporate insiders continue to sell their shares at a faster pace than they bought them. Pain coming for the dip buyers, it says here in the article. Insiders dump stocks as their companies are laying off workers. As we're seeing massive layoffs, these big CEOs, these insiders are dumping stock, laying off workers, while the dumbed down buy the dip buyer or the dumbed down retail investor goes, oh, I'm going to buy the dip and jump in. What could possibly go wrong? These are great times. Think about what is going on. I think this is a time now to be extremely defensive, to own physical assets, to have a skill set, to be able to protect yourself, to be your own central bank, to have a cash reserve. I don't think this is the real dip yet. I don't think the real dip buying has started, because I think everything, real estate, stocks, bonds, everything is completely overvalued right now. This to me, and this isn't financial advice, this to me, the way I see it, is not the time to buy. The sales have not begun. This is the time to stockpile cash and assets and get ready to buy into these dips, to get ready to buy into real estate. Another article today, and I'm going to end with this one. Russia has exported $1 billion in fossil fuels per day since the war despite sanctions and boycotts. Again, maybe this is why gold is up $33 as I make this video. But think about all these sanctions and everything we've done has made Russia richer. Think about the money that they're bringing in right now, $1 billion in fossil fuels per day. And what's even worse than this is how they are befriending China and Iran and all these BRIC nations coming together, how they're looking at ulterior currencies, how we have a pipeline now that Russia and China have spent 8 years building a pipeline from Russia to China, 8 years, where they're going to just be able to hit a switch and the oil is going to flow right to China. And you look at these nations now that Russia and China are befriending, this to me means America and the dollar are about to get much weaker. Our control of the world is going to get much weaker because the petrodollar is going to get weaker. Our military gets weaker, theirs gets stronger. We don't hold nearly the gold that China holds. We may not even have as much gold as Russia. They're stockpiling gold. What do they know? Why are they stockpiling this barbarous relic while we're being told it's worthless and it's just a rock? Yet the central banks around the world know better. Russia, China, Saudi Arabia, India, they know better. They know the value of real money. They know that there is only one true real money, and that's gold. But whatever you might think about gold or silver, it doesn't matter, because one thing we all know is the dollar is on borrowed time. And so what happens when the dollar doesn't have the purchasing power that it once did? It's already lost 97% of its purchasing power. But what happens when we begin to see more competition throughout the world with other currencies, possibly the yuan? What happens if Russia and China decide to just trade with a gold-backed currency? What happens to the US dollar? What happens to the standard of living of the average American right here? What happens if you don't hold some gold or some silver? Things you have to think about right now. So as I wrap it up, another point I want to make is this: do not rely on your credit cards to save you. If these banks get into big trouble, and they're going to freeze credit, and that includes credit cards. Numerous people have written me just in the last week that their credit card accounts have been closed. When these banks get into big trouble, they are going to freeze credit, including credit cards. They will just shut your credit cards off. So many people are opening up these credit card accounts, believing that if things get bad, they'll just use the credit cards. They'll do balance transfers. They'll have 12 credit cards to live on, and hopefully they'll weather the storm. These banks have the power and control to just shut you off with a flip of a switch. And if the banks feel threatened, and if and when they do get into trouble, they are going to start shutting credit card accounts down. We've seen people have their accounts cut in half, their credit limits cut in half. They could just shut you down, close your account, done. Many people may see their credit lines cut in half, maybe 75%, or as I said, just completely shut down. This is the control and the power that the banks have, and people are putting their trust and faith in the system that if it gets bad enough, they'll just live off of their 12 credit cards. And you've got to think, what happens when the day of reckoning comes and the bank shuts you down? What do you do then? So I want all of you to think about that and how quickly a credit freeze can happen. These banks are going to look out for themselves, not you. They have their best interests at heart, not yours. So don't rely on your credit cards. Don't rely on another stimulus check. So many people out there telling us and been telling us that more stimulus is coming. Yeah, stimulus is coming. It's not coming to you and I. The stimulus is going to corporate America, the big corporations, the big companies. They're the ones that are going to get the stimulus. They're the ones that are going to get these big spending acts, okay, which in other words is stimulus. That's going to corporate America. That's not going to you and I. That's not going to the middle class. That's not going to the poor. So I just wanted to close out with that. Do not put your trust in the system, ladies and gentlemen. As I leave you today, the best advice I could give anybody, get out of the system the most that you can. Get out of it. Don't leave all your eggs in one basket. Don't leave all your money sitting in a bank. Don't depend on the system. Now, if you believe that the dollar is going to be the almighty currency for the next 50 years, you believe the stock market is only going to go up, you believe the Fed is going to save the day and come to your rescue, continue buying stocks, continue to keep all your money in the bank, continue doing what you do. Me, on the other hand, this is just me thinking out loud. I believe the system is going to melt down after this melt up. I believe the system is in big trouble and it knows it. I believe the dollar is going to be in big trouble. I believe that the stimulus is over, and I believe that this is not the end of the world, as many people might think, but it is going to be a new world, and you need to get your ducks in a row. You need to be setting things up for this new world. As much as we don't like it and don't want it, things are about to change. They're not going to end. They're not going to end, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the end of the world, but it is the world changing. You're going to see a new world, and you need to prepare for that. Many people are going to lose their wealth. A majority of people are going to lose their wealth, and they're going to be debt slaves. Pay attention to what is going on so that you don't lose everything you worked so hard for. God bless you. Have a great day. Share this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure you subscribe.